Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the live radar. We'll then run through the data from last night and earlier this morning's thunderstorms and very heavy rain that we did see. It has dumped a few inches of rain in a few areas. It was well modelled by the computer models yesterday, and we did of course have a yellow thunderstorm warning in force for it, and we'll have a look at what that did last night. We'll also go through the UKV, have a look at the 5-day precipitation and temperature charts, and then we'll have a look at the mid to longer range, look at the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles, as we have been alluding to high pressure blocking over the next couple of weeks as we head into September. And we're starting to see perhaps the first week of September starting to resolve within the models. And it's not looking great if you are looking forward to some drier weather, as although there's going to be some high pressure blocking, most of the models now from around day 7 to day 10, first few days of September, are showing warmer than average air masses, but a cut-off low being dominating our weather, just sitting to our south and our southwest. So we'll have a look at that in detail in the second half of the video. So, you remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if you do start on the live radar, you can see the remnants of that weather front that is spreading through into the North Sea at the moment. There's still some moderate to light rain pushing through in East Anglia and through the East Midlands as well. Bit of heavier stuff mixed within that, but most of the torrential stuff that gave the few inches of rain is now well out into the North Sea, and those thunderstorms that were right at the front of that precipitation are now all the way into Norway now, giving them some heavy precipitation, because this long line of precipitation has just moved on a sort of a northerly track all the way from Brighton through East Anglia. This line here is where we saw the torrential downpours, and it is now spreading, as I said, into Norway. It should turn much brighter and drier over the course of this afternoon to the evening as the precipitation eventually does fade away. Has taken a little bit longer to move away than what some of the models initially thought yesterday. Some of them thought it would be gone by around 10 to 12. But it's around 2 p.m. I'm recording this. We still have rain lingering. But by around 4 or 5 p.m, all of this rain will have departed, and areas will be much brighter and should have a better sunset this evening. And it should be reasonably warm in those areas just to the south of this precipitation. So although it is bringing fresher air, it is only slightly fresher air. It's still warm generally for this time of year, around or slightly above average. So temperatures still in the low to mid 20s where we see sunshine. There is precipitation pushing in the west in form of showers across Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland and Scotland, so we are generally in, as I said, a more unstable, lower pressure sort of atmosphere, but it is still generally dry. It is nothing too crazy. This weather front really the only major precipitation on the cards for the next few days, really. If we do have a look at the temperatures, you'll be able to see just to the south and the west of the precipitation, we do have slightly warm conditions across South Wales, South West England, even into the London area will start to warm up over the course of the afternoon, and across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, seeing temperatures widely in the high teens, low 20s. But you can see why we've seen the incredible torrential rain, thunderstorms moving through last night. You can look across to Netherlands, Belgium, to parts of France and Germany. Temperatures are in the mid-30s there with incredibly hot air mass, but only high teens, low 20s in the UK, and it's that temperature gradient, that temperature contrast, which has fueled all of this precipitation. So you can see really clearly there the boundary actually just to the west of Paris, but it is now in the North Sea for the UK. We are firmly in the cooler air, but that is what has formed all these heavy showers and thunderstorms. Now, if we do go over to the last 24-hour precipitation, we're able to see where these thunderstorms move through. And if we do run to now, you can see that line of orange, and that's where we saw those incredible thunderstorms move through last night. Through the early hours, they weren't too disruptive to many places. I suspect we could have seen an amber warning for these thunderstorms if they'd fallen during the afternoon or during rush hour instead of sort of 3, 4, 5 a.m. Because, of course, warnings from the Met Office not only have a look at the actual weather, but their impacts. If they do fall overnight, it's less likely to be higher warning level. And it did sort of follow what we saw on the models yesterday, which we were alluding to. It's going to be a very narrow band of heavy precipitation and thunderstorms, and that's what we've seen. You can see where we've seen these oranges and yellows, that's getting towards sort of 50, 60, locally 70 or 80 millimetres of rain. Just to the east of that, in these lighter greens, there's only 5 or 10 millimetres of rain, and some areas across the far east of Kent saw virtually nothing. But further westwards of this, towards East Midlands, in East Anglia generally, down towards London, Greater London, down into central southern England, a lot of darker greens and yellows. That's widely 20 to 40 millimetres of rain, so a good inch to maybe 2 inches of rain for a lot of areas, and that is what we anticipated. So the models did forecast this really quite well, but it's in this narrow strip where those severe thunderstorms went through earlier this morning. That's where we've seen the most amount of rain. Some areas have seen more rain in the past 12 hours or so than they have seen in the previous month or two. So yeah, ridiculous amount of rainfall falling, but luckily fell overnight. Any flash flooding we saw, any roads being submerged, any large puddles from the severe torrential rain will have faded and sort of petered away by the time it got to rush hour 9, 10, 11 a.m. when generally things turn just to more to moderate rainfall. But yeah, widespread soaking, it should help the drought conditions we do have at the moment and should alleviate that a little bit. But still, we do need more precipitation over the coming weeks and months to make sure that we fully escape the drought conditions. But we have seen some good rainfall over the last week or two with some big thunderstorms, and hopefully we still have some more moderate rainfall to come over the next few weeks. Now, if we go over to the lightning map, lightningmaps.org, not used this website before, but it is very useful showing past lightning strikes. This is the past 24-hour lightning strikes, and again, you can see this real narrow band of real high lightning strike rates, and it does correlate well with the precipitation totals we just saw as well. So you can see through Brighton, up through Kent into Essex, all the way for the East Midlands into East Anglia saw torrential rain and severe thunderstorms. I think about 20,000 lightning strikes across the UK here. So yeah, really quite severe. But again, most of this was around 2 to 5 a.m. So most people were not awake. And if you were awake, well, it would have been a real light show out there. But as I said, fortunately did go overnight, or I do suspect we would have seen an amber warning put in force for this. And those lightning strikes are now well out into the North Sea, up towards Norway, and you can see the track of all this instability and storms starting in the Bay of Biscay, moving through Jersey, Guernsey, through northern France, and through the east of England. So yeah, real interesting event this, with severe thunderstorms and torrential rain. But luckily, doesn't look like too much activity over the next 5 days. But as I said, in the midterm, could be cut-off lows developing, and that could give us more heavy rain and potentially thunderstorms into September. So if you go to the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and temperatures over the next 5 days. So you can see this is from the 3 a.m. run. So you can see at 4 a.m. the torrential downpours and thunderstorms breaking out across eastern England. Again, well modelled by the UKV along that line through eastern England. And then we saw the severe rain move through around 6, 7 a.m. Just continue. And you can see, I'm recording this around 2 p.m. we still got a lot of precipitation about. So this is why the models were a little bit bad with the exact positioning of the heavier precipitation following the thunderstorms. It was in reality much further westwards, so it's inevitably taken slightly longer to move out into the North Sea. So a couple hours delayed. So it's giving more of a widespread soaking, which I guess is quite good, as a lot of the areas seeing this rain are in very much drought conditions, very much below average rainfall over the last few months. So this is a good situation. The thunderstorms have cleared, but the heavy, moderate rain, which is building up the water levels, that is a good thing that we are seeing through this afternoon, even though many people probably don't like it being a bit miserable out there. For the sort of mid to longer term, it is quite a good thing, filling up the water in our reservoirs, rivers, and generally groundwater levels as well for all the plants and wildlife out there. Now, if we do move beyond this afternoon, you can see generally it's not too bad of a day after the precipitation does disappear. And you see by around sunset this evening, around 7, 8 p.m, it's largely dry and sunny across most of England and Wales, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland and Scotland, seeing some precipitation in the west and some thicker cloud, but nothing too crazy. Just generally progression of progression of those showers we saw on the live radar pushing eastwards a bit. As we head through tonight, again showers trying to push further eastwards, but nothing too crazy. And through tomorrow afternoon, a few showers in the west and the north, but still a reasonably dry day with some sunshine in places. As we head into Saturday, very similar. Some showers around, plenty of sunshine. Could see a few heavy, maybe a few isolated thundery showers through central England into northern England. But again, pretty dry and pretty bright for most. And into Sunday, again, very similar. Could be a few showers around, but still very dry and bright. Because we do, as I said, have higher pressure building in at the moment, and it's the longer term of the low pressure comes involved. And by Monday afternoon, you can see again another dry and bright day. So it could be some very dry and decent days over the next 5 days or so. But of course, the upper air temperatures are not too great. So this temperature is not going to be high 20s, low 30s by any means. It's going to be more likely high teens, low 20s, maybe mid 20s in the far south. And if we have a look at those 2 metre temperatures, you can see today where we do finally get that precipitation to clear, could rise to 23, 24 degrees, but again, all depends on that precipitation clearing, and it is a bit delayed than what the model is showing. Suspect those areas reaching 23, 24 are much more reduced than shown here. As we head through to tomorrow, you can see those temperatures rising a bit higher than today, more widely into the low 20s, 20 to 24 degrees quite widely, high teens, maybe low 20s in the north and the west. As we head into Saturday, another pretty decent day for many. Temperatures once again rising to those low 20s, widely high teens, low 20s. Could be 23, 24, maybe 25 degrees across central England, so around or slightly above average for this time of year. And into Sunday, another decent day. 25 or 26 degrees is possible. We do still have moderate air masses around, but nothing crazy hot. So yeah, just generally warm and dry. And finally into Monday, again another warm and dry day, widely high teens, low 20s, maybe even 25 degrees is possible in central southern England once again. So if we do have a look at the longer range, looking at the GFS today, you can see we've got the lower pressure to our north that is bringing in a slightly fresher westerly feel, but a higher pressure is building in at the moment. As it builds in, it's going to be drier and generally a little bit warmer as well, with a bit of an easterly flow, but those very hot air masses are lingering just to our south. So it does look likely we're going to be in around average, maybe slightly above average air masses for this time of year. It's beyond that, to day 7, we see this cooler patch of air, and that is a diving little low pressure system developing, and this is the cut-off low. You see high pressure to our north, blocking high pressure that's been a consistent feature in the models of the last few days, but the uncertainty is what's happening to the blocking, where does it go, and where does it push low pressure. And today, around day 7 to day 10, we're seeing low pressure sit to our south and our southwest towards the Bay of Biscay. Not only would this spiral up warm air from the south, but it would spiral up heavy showers and maybe thunderstorms as well. You can see the 10-degree isotherm coming in there in the southeast, maybe in the 15-degree isotherm moving in as well. So it could be warm and quite pleasantly hot in the east, but it could be quite humid and thundery with this little low pressure system. So we'll have to see how that does develop through the first week of September, because it just lingers. You see, it just stays there for eventually the high pressure moves slightly further southwards and westwards, and we do see a bit of a northeasterly flow, quite a chilly northeasterly flow, which, yes, would still be slightly unsettled, but with the air direction coming in from the northeast, slightly drier direction, so although it's still lower pressure dominated, those showers wouldn't be thundery, they'd be lighter, and it'd just be cloudier as well. And that just continues all the way to the end of the run, with high pressure blocking in control all the way to 384 hours. So you can see how blocking can do various different things, and today the signal from day 7 to day 10, which is getting into the reliable time frame, is showing a cut-off low to our south, spiralling in heavy thundery showers. Now if we have a look at what the GEM compares to that, again higher pressure building in at the moment, just moves to our north, bringing us generally south to southeasterly flow, so generally a warm air mass but nothing too crazy. And then we see that high pressure build to our north, and we see a cut-off low develop again, a slightly different region where it comes from. It drops down to our east instead of from the west, and from Greenland it comes down the North Sea, but it still parks over central southern England, trying to spiral up warmer air masses, just because it's positioning it slightly cooler initially, but once that gets going around day 10, that would be pulling in some very warm air from the southeast and would be producing a lot of heavy showers and thunderstorms, but also brighter, warmer weather as well. So we'll have to see exactly how this does develop, but both GFS and GEM from day 7 to day 10 are dropping a low pressure system down from the north, producing a cut-off low. If you don't know what a cut-off low is, I'll just briefly explain. That's where it's cut off from a flow, so it is just sitting there. you can see high pressure surrounding it, and the general west-easterly flow is well to our north. The jet stream is well to our north, and it just sits there in a little cut-off area. And the cut-off lows generally don't move for a number of days. They can be quite dangerous, producing a lot of showers and storms and a lot of precipitation falling over the course of a few days. So that's why it could cause issues, but we won't be able to say exactly those what the outcome of this low would be until it forms, until it's in the sort of 5-day time frame, really. So it's just speculation what exactly we'd see with this, but generally from this sort of pattern, it would be heavy showers and thunderstorms. If you do see what the ECMWF does in the 7 to 10 day time frame, if you run through, if you put on the 12 hours there, again you can see high pressure building in, very similar, better for southeasterly flow. High pressure moves to our north, and we see that low drop again, very similar to the GFS, out from Greenland and Iceland to our west, and just sits out to the west and southwest of Ireland, spiralling in heavy showers and storms. This would very much bring those showers more to the west, and the other run showing more to the south and potentially the east, or especially on the GEM run. But this would be much more in the west, but it would be pushing up warm air from our south. You can see that the 10-degree isoform pushing into the east, the 15-degree isoform potentially pushing in as well, and that doesn't sound too warm. But this time of year it's a good 4 to 6 degrees above average temperatures, in the mid-20s perhaps, but warm, humid, and potentially really quite showery as well. But 3 runs all showing these cut-off lows developing, so that would and could be quite an interesting sign for the first 7 days of September. Could produce a lot of precipitation and can produce some warm conditions as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. But if you are looking forward to some precipitation, this is a good sign, because this would give a lot of showers and potentially some very heavy thundery rain as well, which could cause issues, but we'll have to see nearer the time exactly with that. Now, this does get well reflected on the ensembles. If we look at the GFS ensembles, you can see around average over the next 5 days, but rising above average for the end of August and the first week of September, so symbolic of a south or southeasterly flow from that cut-off low, and precipitation amounts increase as well. Again, we're not expecting anything too crazy at this stage, because the cut-off lows will generally produce convective rainfall, which not get picked up by the ensembles too well in the longer term. But definitely an increase in precipitation for the start of September, and generally warmer air masses as well. You see the GFS Operational Run, a bit of an anomaly there, pulling cooler temperatures because of the slight orientation shift in the higher pressure, bringing a northeasterly wind, but most of the runs are pretty warm and pretty unsettled. And if we have a look at the sea level pressure, again, nothing too crazy, but a lot of ensemble members dropping us down to around 1,050 and 1,010 millibars. Again, a cut-off low isn't terribly low pressure, but it's enough lower pressure to produce a lot of showers and potentially some thunderstorms. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens with that. And if we do compare it to the ECMWF ensembles, again, warm at the moment, turning around, maybe slightly below average, and then generally around or slightly above average in the longer term. Bit more spread on this, and not as much bias to warmer than average conditions, but still generally around or slightly above average, but a lot of precipitation starting on the 1st of September through to the 9th of September. A lot more precipitation here, so definitely a signal for a more unsettled period. And from what we saw in the 3 operational runs, it's very likely that majority of these are producing these cut-off lows to our south. Again, we'll have to keep an eye on it. We're only within the sort of 5 to 7 day time frame we'll be able to say the exact positioning of it, and therefore the exact positioning of the heavier showers and storms, and where the areas will see the most amount of rainfall, and where areas will see the warmth, perhaps from southeasterly winds. So we'll have to see on the details. We have to wait a good few days perhaps for the details and see it turn sort of concrete within the models. But this is a signal we have been seeing over the last few days of high pressure blocking, and the models are starting to converge perhaps on cut-off lows. A couple of days ago they were showing more stormy conditions, but perhaps the jet stream not engaging as much, so perhaps, yes, cut-off lows now developing, and we are seeing that both from the operational runs and the ensemble members, with increased precipitation in the longer term and generally slightly above average temperatures, all directed towards a south or southeasterly flow, and unsettled conditions sitting to our south. So it could be quite horrible into the first week of September, but we'll have to see how it does develop. But if you are enjoying showers and storms and want more rainfall and want generally unsettled conditions, this is quite a good sign. But if you are looking forward to some late summer warmth, some heat perhaps into September, this is not a good sign. Perhaps the next 5 days, where we generally have average, slightly above average temperatures and dry conditions, are the best thing we're going to get, perhaps for a good few weeks. So do cherish that if you do enjoy these dry, warmer conditions. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope everyone stays safe out there in those thunderstorms in the east yesterday, and stays safe over the next couple of weeks, whatever happens. And I'll see you again for another video soon.